Libertyville is a community whose name signifies the dreams and aspirations of the people of this great nation. From its early beginnings in 1836, Libertyville continues to be a community proud of its rich heritage and history. Due to the innumerable hours of volunteer time donated annually, Libertyville residents of all ages gather to share their heritage and their ambitious roster of events. Millions of dollars have been invested on Main Street, Libertyville, with over 25 renovated buildings to reflect its history. As the community continues to grow, the village board and its citizens continue planning ways to preserve Libertyville's cherished values and hometown community feeling.
The origin of Libertyville, Illinois, began right here in what is now known as Cook Park. In 1834, an Englishman by the name of George Varden came to this area with his family, looking for a place to settle. Upon arriving, he found a vast grove of trees, a small lake to the west, and the Des Plaines River to the east. Finding this area the most entrancing spot he had ever seen, he decided to build his cabin and call this place home. Today, Cook Park is the hub of Libertyville, whose community celebrates its heritage with many scheduled events. As new settlers arrived and found George Varden's cabin, it became their gathering place, known as Varden's Grove. Deciding to make this area their home, the settlers assembled on July 4, 1836, around what was called a Liberty Pole, and voted to name their new village Independence Grove. However, when the settlers petitioned for a post office, they found the name Independence Grove already taken. A settler by the name of Archimedes Wynkoop suggested the name of Libertyville. So, on April 16, 1837, the village was registered as Libertyville. With only a brief name change to Burlington when Libertyville was the county seat, the young village retained its name Libertyville for good. It should be noted that these early settlers were not the first to call Libertyville their home. The Potawatomi Indians used this area as their favorite hunting grounds and were attracted by the mineral springs on the west bank of the Des Plaines River, where the waters were said to have certain curative powers. In 1684, the famous French explorer Chevrolet de la Salle came down the river seeking these healing sulfur waters that the Indians spoke of. The waters soon received great reputation as people throughout the country heard of their medicinal value. As settlers and their families arrived in Libertyville and surrounding towns, bachelors of the area built Libertyville's and Lake County's first school in 1836 in a clearing north of Varden's cabin for the grand sum of $25. Almost 50 years later, Central School was built on School Street in 1882. With overflow classes held in rooms over Skank Hardware on Cook and Milwaukee Avenues, Libertyville's first four-year state-accredited high school class graduated in 1907. With the growing need for more classrooms, the first township high school, Brainerd High School, was completed in 1916. Academic excellence, a long-standing tradition of Libertyville, contributes to its desirable hometown location and community spirit. Part of Libertyville's growth has been reflected in the growth of its many churches. The Methodist Church, founded in 1836, was Libertyville's first organized church. Their first preachers, the circuit riders, conducted services in churches covering a territory of over 1,000 square miles. In 1868, a Union church, distinguished by its extremely tall spire, was rented by the Congregationalists, Lutherans, Methodists, Presbyterians, and Universalists to serve as a common place of worship. As each religious group was able to build churches of their own, their unique and beautiful architecture graced the landscape of Libertyville. Today, this landscape and body of churches are a vital part of Libertyville's character and heritage. During the 1850s, Libertyville's main link with the rest of the world was the stagecoach, bringing with it news of the growing dissension over slavery. When this dissension escalated into the Civil War, Libertyville did its part for the Union and formed the Lake County Rifle Guards, which served as Company I of the 17th Illinois Infantry. Elma Dusenberry of Libertyville served as company blacksmith for a 2-year hitch. Libertyville citizens have always been proud to serve their country, and today its veterans are honored annually during the Memorial and Veterans Day ceremonies. Lakeside Cemetery, dating back to 1849, was enhanced in 1999 by an impressive Veterans Memorial built with contributions by village residents. As stagecoach routes grew, so did Libertyville. Farms prospered, and sheep and cattle were driven on hoof to the Chicago stockyards. Other local products were also in demand, including the Albana spring water from springs along present-day Newberry Avenue. The enterprising Libertyville Crystal Spring Company sold the Perrier of water from the Albana Spring site. The company was highly successful with many local and Chicago customers. However, it was a long trip to Chicago by horse and wagon, and with businesses growing, there was no doubt the town was in need of a railroad. In 1872, the Chicago, Milwaukee, and St. Paul Railroad built a line to the roundout area called the Libertyville Junction. Finding it hard to use a track that far away, the community appointed a committee to confer with railroad officials, which resulted in an agreement for installing a spur through the town. In May of 1880, the community held a celebration as the first locomotive blew its whistle through Libertyville. The railroad was key to establishing Libertyville as a semi-rural shopping center and making it an attractive location for industry, bringing to the community people who would soon call Libertyville their home. This rapid expansion resulted in more homes and businesses. As a result, in 1882, 41 area settlers petitioned to incorporate the village of Libertyville. This successful petition led to the first election of village officials, with John Locke as our first village president. Libertyville has since evolved into a complete government by the people, with fire, police, public works, and park departments. More than a century later, Mayor Dwayne Laska and the trustees continue the practice of governing by the people. As mentioned earlier, the residents of Libertyville have been gathering in what we now know as Cook Park since the days of the early settlers. Cook Park's Memorial Museum, the Rose Garden, and the calendar of events make Cook Park a Libertyville favorite today. Cook Park's name came as a result of a donation to the village by Ansel B. Cook, who in 1878 built his stately home as his country residence. Cook, a respected citizen and benefactor of the village, directed in his will that the property be left to the village to be used as a memorial hall and public library. Following the completion of the present Cook Memorial Library in 1968, the Cook home became the headquarters of the Libertyville Mundelein Historical Society. Today, the Cook Victorian Museum is a centerpiece of Cook Park and an attraction to visitors from around the world. In addition to many Victorian pieces, the museum houses photographs and artifacts of Lake County. One of the most notable of these is the Wide Awake banner, won by the Libertyville Wide Awakes on October 2, 1860, featuring a painting of President Lincoln's nomination parade. The Libertyville Wide Awakes were a Republican marching club, credited with securing Lincoln's nomination at the Wigwam in Chicago. Libertyville has always been actively involved in politics on both the national and local level. The very first organized public meeting in Lake County was held right here in Libertyville. It was a general meeting of the settlers for adopting regulations for the purpose of protecting themselves in their rights as claimants for public land. On July 5, 1913, Clara Averill Colby of Libertyville was the first woman to vote in Illinois. The Chicago Sunday Tribune ran the headline, "Illinois' first woman voter at polls with others. Husband washes."
I do not care if you vote in favor of the new hall or against it. Just go to the polls and show the men that you are interested enough in the ballot to use it. Indeed, my husband showed his support by staying at home and doing the wash.
In the 1950s, Libertyville became known to much of the world as the home of Adlai Stevenson, Illinois governor, UN ambassador, and twice unsuccessful candidate for president. As a result of his work, Stevenson spent most of his time in Washington and abroad, but in his biography on Stevenson, author Porter McKeever wrote, "It was the place he kept coming back to, or dreamed of coming back to, during his long interludes away. It was, in the fullest sense, his home." Another Democratic presidential candidate, John F. Kennedy, recognized the importance of Libertyville when on October 25, 1960, Kennedy invaded Republican territory in the last 2 weeks of his campaign. Libertyville's Cook Memorial Park was overflowing with an estimated 7,000 people, and the crowds lined Milwaukee Avenue beginning at 7 a.m. to view the candidate's motorcade. Hundreds of students were let out of school for Kennedy's 10:52 a.m. appearance. Libertyville's growth and heritage has always been attributed to the high-spirited men and women of the community. However, at midnight on Friday, August 30th, 1895, that spirit would be put to the test. As Max LeBeau rolled cigars in his shop, he looked up and saw a flickering light across Milwaukee Avenue. Sleeping people were soon awakened by the cry of fire as a bucket brigade formed to stop the fire on the east side at Cook Avenue. Dynamite was used to blow up 2 buildings on the north end of the fire, including Libertyville's first hotel, the popular 3-story Grove House Hotel, with its 50 rooms and grand ballroom. In the end, the fire had leveled 27 buildings on the east side of Milwaukee Avenue, and many other buildings on the west side were damaged. Losses exceeded $80,000. But as Chicago was said to have benefited in the end by its great fire, so did Libertyville. New buildings went up immediately, and most of them are still standing today and have been restored through the Main Street Libertyville organization. Several benefactors have contributed to Libertyville's growth. If A.B. Cook was Libertyville's benefactor of the 1800s, Samuel Insull, the famed utility man, was the most valuable individual in the early 1900s. Insull took a genuine interest in Libertyville's future, and with his power and influence, he was instrumental in bringing many advances to Libertyville, including the construction of the Public Service Building, now the Harris Bank, and on the National Register of Historic Places. In 1928, Condell Hospital was built with funds from Elizabeth Condell, a descendant of a pioneer family. Insull was among many who worked hard to make the hospital a reality. David Adler, one of Libertyville's most notable residents, was considered one of the greatest architects of the century. Adler's estate became property of Libertyville in 1951. Today, the David Adler Cultural Center is used for many different cultural events throughout the year. His house and grounds are a valuable asset to the community. Other well-known residents of Libertyville and students of Libertyville High School include musician Tom Morello of the rock group Rage Against the Machine, Major League Baseball's Brett Butler, and actor Marlon Brando. Some things never change in Libertyville, and one of those things is how to have good old-fashioned fun. Libertyville was the home of the Lake County Fair from 1858 till 1925. The fairgrounds were located at the end of Apley Avenue with a permanent grandstand for the half-mile racetrack. Spectators and participants came from all over to join in on the fun. Between 1904 and 1918, a 1-mile track was located between Garfield and Dawes Streets. This track provided a destination for passengers on the newly laid electric railroad. Horsemen from a 5-state area in Canada enjoyed the facility as large crowds attended during each race season. Car racing replaced the horse races the last few years before the track was demolished. The Liberty Theater at 708 North Milwaukee Avenue opened its doors on August 27, 1937, with the movie Slave Ship. Although it wasn't the first theater in town, it became a welcome addition to Libertyville's Main Street. Today, the Liberty Theater, with a few cosmetic changes, still stands and offers a full array of popular movies. The Libertyville Boys Club boxing team competed in Brainerd High School from 1937 to 1948, bringing many fans and spectators. In 1948, the Libertyville team competed against the Canadian national team from Toronto and was televised by station WBKB Chicago. Today, Libertyville has a year-round schedule of events and activities, including Libertyville Days, Out to Lunch, Village Band, Farmers Market, Adler Pool, antique and classic car shows, Oktoberfest, and the popular Dickens of a Holiday. In 1989, Main Street Libertyville organization spearheaded efforts to restore Libertyville's downtown district and began efforts to bring business back to the community. With the renovation of over 25 historic buildings and the ambitious calendar of events that take place in downtown Libertyville, the business district is once again thriving. For their efforts, Main Street Libertyville won the 1997 Great American Main Street Award. Libertyville's success has been the result of the cooperation between the Village of Libertyville, volunteer residents, and the business community. Libertyville is a beautiful village, rich in history and potential, a place where there is that genuine feeling of the ideal traditional hometown, where generations before have left a legacy of family and community values to generations to come.